stay facing the microphone. So thanks to our sponsors, and Mike and David and Jen, for the opportunity to talk with you all about Data.gov, what's going on, and how we're evolving from the web to the data web to the social data web. So the web is evolving from a web of linked documents that we're all familiar with to a web of linked data. So what's that about? Well, in HTML, there's only one kind of link, right? So source page.htm has some markup that links to a target page, the hyperlink. It's the only type of link on the document web right now. XML gives us custom tags. That's a really good thing. But mostly what we really learned about over the past few years is this idea of representational state transfer, the architecture of the web. It introduces this idea of things on the web that are identified by URIs and representations of those things, like an HTML page or a JSON file or an RDF file, that are located by URLs, right? So the difference between URIs and URLs is important to the data web. It introduces this idea of a uniform interface. So your website is your API. You don't need to invent an API because you can create, read, and update data with the built-in HTTP methods that are part of the protocol. So the resource description framework is a data modeling language that's a standard. That's the basis of the data web. And basically what this introduces for us is this idea of a triple. So the grammar of a triple, people talk about arcs that link a node on the web to another node, or a relationship from one thing to another thing, or an attribute that links an entity to a value. But the standard itself talks about subjects and predicates and objects. So if you go to a thing on the web, it's on agency.gov/subject, when you HTTP get that or dereference that, it's going to return a triple. It's going to have a triple that'll say, I've got some predicate that links me to some other object on the web across domains, right? Apologies for the velocity of all this, but it's timed reasonably well so that there's YouTube later, right? So grammar needs vocabularies. We have this grammar of a triple. We can think about vocabulary as this kind of metadata, right? So this triple here, objective, quantifies a goal. This is a meta vocabulary statement. So that would be dereferenced in this kind of way. Some standards org might have a /objective, that when you dereference that, it'll say it has a property called quantifies that relates it to another vocabulary term. So something like meaningful use would be an instance of an objective, right? So a type of objective. Something like electronic health record exchange would be a type of a goal. So this is what it looks like on the web when you dereference this data. So what we can ask is, so why do we want to use this data stuff now that you've had a super fast blast of what it is? So machines can automatically figure out that meaningful use quantifies DHR exchange. We didn't have to assert that. They can automatically figure that out based on the metadata vocabulary, because objective quantifies goals, meaningful use is an objective, DHR exchange is a goal, etc. So it's just about linking. We're creating custom link types with RDF. So if there are different sites on the web, DBpedia might have a page /DHHS, and Freebase might have a page HHS. Some other website could assert that the information contained on those pages is the same subject, HHS. That means that we can automatically merge all the data and integrate all the data automatically. This is something that can drastically lower the coordination costs of information integration. So who's doing this? All the cool kids are doing this stuff. Government agencies, I would encourage you to check out id.libraryofcongress.gov. It's a really good example of linked data. From the Data.gov PMO, we have a semantic web and linked data team, which I lead, that is working with RPI, who invented a lot of these technologies and languages. There's a CIO Council data architecture subcommittee that's involved in the standards of vocabulary creation. At HHS, we're working with great people at NLM, and we're focused on OpenGov, flagship initiative, things like CHDI, creating vocabularies to put this data on the web. So it turns out that NLM actually has intervention, community intervention data about obesity. So if we get CHDI geographic data in my locale about what's happening in my food desert and obesity problems, we can get Medline, PubMed citations about research that doctors have done and automatically link that. So the idea that this group knows a lot about social media, the idea of adding data web, making that become social data web, is really when we start to think about the metadata vocabularies and the corresponding instance data sets as the objects of social collaboration. So we can use all the activity stream history feeds and viral expert networking stuff to help us enhance data quality. So what can you do? I'd be delighted to communicate with all of you here if you're interested in what's going on with this stuff. And you can certainly get involved with the Data Architecture Subcommittee and a variety of other venues to get connected into that. Yeah, so thank you very much.